Off-duty cop opens fire on teens for stepping on lawn. An off-duty cop went too far over his lawn in Los Angeles and has now sparked protests. Video emerged of a group of teens in a confrontation with a man who was angry that they were stepping on his grass. Harsh words were exchanged between the man and the teens, and then he suddenly grabs a 13-year-old boy and pulls a gun from his waistband. As the teens rush to the aid of their friend, the gun is discharged, but no one is hit. According to media reports, the unidentified cop stated that the teen he grabbed said he was going to shoot him. However, the teen claims that he said he was going to sue him, not shoot him. When the gun is fired, the group of teens tried to flee the area as other officers arrived at the scene. The teens, who were all unarmed, were detained and 2 were arrested. The incident escalated when the off-duty cop allegedly called a female member of the group a cunt, sparking the melee. Later that evening, a group of protesters gathered in the area and chanted, "Whose streets? Our streets. Don't shoot our kids. Shame on you," as well as "No justice, no peace," and "FUCK the police." The Anaheim Police Department posted the following message to its Facebook page. There is a large protest developing in the area of Euclid and Palais regarding yesterday's officer-involved shooting involving an off-duty LAPD police officer. A tactical alert has been initiated. Avoid the area until further notice. Peaceful protests are perfectly acceptable, but acts of violence and vandalism will not be tolerated. The crowd turned violent and began to throw rocks and bottles at the police who responded to the protests. Someone painted "FUCK the pigs" on a garage door of one of the houses, but it did not belong to the officer at the center of the disturbance. The Anaheim, California police have reported that at least 24 people were arrested on charges that include failure to disperse, resisting arrest, and battery on a peace officer. The police department then posted to Facebook, "The protest on Palais has been declared an unlawful assembly. The Anaheim Police Department helicopter is giving dispersal orders from the air. Protesters who refuse to disperse will be subject to arrest." A man identified as Johnny Dorsch, the teen's father, stated to media, "I'm pretty pissed off about what happened. You could talk to anybody. My son has very good manners. He does good in school and isn't disrespectful or anything like that. We're going to find legal representation and be suing. This is BS. Even the cops, when they got there, they all had the kids down. They didn't even go after the guy." The off-duty officer in question was not arrested, and the police posted the following update on Facebook. Update regarding off-duty LAPD OIS. A special telephone number has been created for those who want to comment on this event. The number is 714-765-7990. The Anaheim Police Department Homicide Detail is investigating the criminal culpability of the off-duty police officer as well as the juveniles involved. The videos posted online do not depict the entire event. Our job is to collect all of the facts and evidence to present the clearest and most accurate information to the district attorney's office as they make their decision on the filing of criminal charges. As far as the officer's employment status, he does not work for our agency, but the LAPD is completing its own investigation into the actions of their officer. We have received reports of planned protests. Peaceful protests in accordance with the law are perfectly acceptable. Acts of violence or vandalism will not be tolerated. Anaheim Mayor Tom Tate said there will be a thorough, impartial investigation into the incident. Like many in the community, I've seen the video and I'm very concerned about what it shows. Anaheim is committed to a full and impartial investigation, our city will move forward without delay. Well, I hope it does. I have a lot of thoughts concerning this. I'm going to try to keep it short. But what kind of police officer was that he felt his first and only option was to pull out a weapon? There's video showing this. But magically, as it always happens, don't be surprised if they find a way to wiggle out of that one. This is a very sad situation, but it's something that is very common, especially with those who have the psyche and mentality that this officer possesses. Many police officers and those in law enforcement feel that their only option, their first choice and their only option, is to pull out a weapon because they don't know how to communicate. This to me reflects back on their training, which to me has been very ineffective, because once your mind is hell-bent in thinking a certain way, when you are in different communities, it's going to revert back to what is in your heart and in your mind. My solution in dealing with police, let's just get right to the meat of the matter, and I'll ramble on a little longer. In 2017 and beyond, we need to leave them alone. Leave the police alone. Now, maybe these children didn't understand that this was a cop. But when you know, leave them alone. It doesn't mean that you're afraid of them. It just means that you understand what you're dealing with. Personally, I'm sick and tired of the mentality that many of these police officers across the country bring to their job. And one might say, it's not everyone. It's not every police officer. But I ask you this. When you find that you have a dirty cop amongst your ranks, why is there so much silence? I mean, if I was a good police officer, I wouldn't want the reputation of the bad police officer staining my uniform. And then turn around and many police officers who appear to be good act shocked when they get bad treatment from the people, or they see even fear in the eyes of the people that they are supposed to serve. But I have a question. In many police agencies, they have on the side of the vehicle, to protect and serve. Can I ask you, what do they mean by that? To protect and serve who? Who are they there to protect and serve? To me, that's an incomplete statement. But when I cut on the news every day, and when I think back to my own dealings down through the years, it's quite evident who they're there to protect and serve. Many police officers bring their personal problems to the job. Many police officers seek control in the streets where they don't have it at home. Many police officers are disgruntled, unhappy. The control that they thought that they would get, they don't feel that rush anymore. They go home and they look at their bills just like anybody else. They go home and they wonder what their wife was doing when they were at work, like many insecure men who don't have control, righteous control, in their household. Many abuse substances such as alcohol, and many are living an empty life. So when you see that uniform, it doesn't mean they're Superman. It just means that they applied for a job that required in most cases a high school diploma, a clean record, and the ability to communicate to a point on paper and verbally. So there's a lot to be desired. So when you see this imperfect individual who is full of his own or her own idiosyncrasies that they bring to the job, understand that it's best, most often, unless you have to leave them alone. They go left, you go right. They go right, you go left. Avoid the eye contact, but you keep your eyes on them at all times. Let them understand that you can handle your own affairs. We as black people in our own community, if you really want to fight racism and law enforcement, the bad law enforcement, handle your own affairs. Every time you have a dealing with a police officer that's negative and leaves a bad taste in your mouth, that's a call to action that we need to show each other more peace, love, unity, and respect. We are the true peace officers in our life. We don't need to go to anyone who lives outside of our community who already has these preconceived notions of what and who we are, which most of the time is not a good thing at all. Let's handle our own affairs and render them useless. Call the police only when you need to, when it's life or death. But if you have domestic violence issues in your home, handle them. Get the help you need. If you have issues in your community with your neighbor, handle them and come to some peaceful way of resolving your issue. Do not bring the police in your affairs, and stop talking to these guys. Stop telling them your business. They're not there to be your friend. They're there to protect and serve the interests, not of you, but of another ideology. And when it comes time to gentrify your neighborhoods, they're there to protect and serve that order. Many times when I'm driving up and down the various neighborhoods of my job, I know when the order has been given to harass, to pull people over in their cars. I know when the order has been given, because in the hoods, it looks like Christmas. Lights everywhere. But you go to other neighborhoods, you don't see this activity. So it lets you know that there are people, regular people, flawed people in uniform who are following their dictates to get that paycheck. I remember when I was in the academy to be a corrections officer, that same academy trained many of the same officers that I see in the street, police officers. It's just that corrections goes 2/3 of the way because they don't have to deal with vehicle issues in the street or weapons in the street. So they only go but so far, especially with law, the law part of the academy. We don't go as far, but we get the majority. So I don't understand why there's this condescending mentality as though we're on this level that you're not. I can look and show you awards that I've gotten in those same academies that they went to. That's just a footnote. And it didn't take much at all. But you have to understand that the ideologies that many of these individuals have before they go into law enforcement never went away with the training. If they have a white supremacist mentality, they bring that to the job. I even noticed it there at the academy. We would take our breaks as potential corrections officers, and you'd see on the other side the potential police officers. And they never mixed and mingled. They had this air about them, giving you the peripheral vision through dark glasses. But if you spoke to them and you greeted them, if you went to the restroom, chances are they would never respond back. That's to let you know the status you have in their eyes. And these are the people who come into our neighborhoods, and shame on you, black police officers. So afraid that you'd lose your job if you go against the grain. And whenever the dirt goes down, you sit to the side and you look to the side, sheepish, as the cold words are slung. Or, like a fool, you'll adopt the mentality of those white supremacists in uniform because you want to curry favor with them and you want to be on their side. But deep down, when it goes down, brother, you know good and damn well that you're not on their side. So stop looking at your people as subpar to make them happy. Because when you're not around and they speak of you, trust me, you are the subpar person. You'll be left holding the bag. You'll be the scapegoat or the fall guy. As far as becoming a police officer, to me, in my opinion, the best police officers, the best law enforcement have other types of training, other types of experiences in their background. Corrections officers who go into being a police officer, they are usually the better police officers because they've had to deal in an atmosphere where they did not have a weapon to hide behind, where they were outnumbered, where they had to understand how to communicate to people to get them to do what was needed to do according to their dictates on their post. So when they go out on the street, they're not apt to grabbing their weapon to settle all disputes. They usually don't walk with the fear that many police officers walk with. Many times when you see a police officer who's acting aggressive and trying to throw off the aura of invincibility, he's crapping in his pants because he doesn't know where or when it might happen, if it happens. He knows that he's a sitting duck. He knows that he's a target. So he has to tell himself that he is invincible. He has to pump himself up. But when you see them, you see the fear in their eyes. This is why many of them want to hide their eyes behind dark shades, sunglasses, because the fear is evident when you look at them. And it doesn't have to be you that does anything. In their mind, as they should think, they've inherited the resentment of people they've done wrong to and the other people who have done wrong. So when you see that uniform, most people, their guard goes up. So they're right for being afraid. They just don't want you to understand that they are. This is why I would never, ever take a job like that and represent a faction of this society that has done my people so wrong. Why would I do that? And even when I was in corrections, all I got was love because I was paid to hang out with my brothers. And once those who were in administration began to understand that, they had to get Brother Scurv away from them. See? But yes, the better police officers usually have a corrections background or some different type of training and experiences diversified because they're not afraid. Many times when working in the jail or the prison, and police officers would have to come in to serve papers, they had to leave their guns at the front. You can't bring your weapon inside the jail. And it was so amusing to me that some of these police officers that had their chests pushed out while they walked the street and had the arrogance and cockiness and the condescending way while they were in the street, had all of that vanished and deflated when they walked down the halls of the jail. And they heard the so-called inmates screaming out their name and calling to them. And they were so afraid. They were out of their element. And this is to let you know that without that gun, When they walk through our neighborhoods, they're really afraid. That's why they have to hold on to it so hard in their mind. They want to think of us as animals and beasts, but look at what they do to us. Look at how they treat us. And yes, there are some of us who are wayward. There's some of us who act out of control, and I'm not going to sit here and condone that behavior. You need to be dealt with. You need to sit down somewhere and do what you need to do to be a respectable member of the community. Yes, I said it. I'm not going to give you a pass because you're black. But the bottom line is, you got to know what we're dealing with right now. And they're coming after us. That's the mentality. They're creating different task forces to deal, to butter us up like MSG on meat, to bring out the flavor before they bring the gentrification. That's what they're doing in Pine Hills now. Any one piece of news that happens, or home invasion or shooting that happens, is going to be elevated in the news because the news works along with them. And Pine Hills is here in Orlando, but it could be anywhere. Understand how they work. When they're targeting a neighborhood for gentrification, they want to make it look as bad as they possibly can. And the media works along with them, the printed media and the broadcast media. They've agreed to keep their name, the name of that area, in the news. The property values drop. Everybody has that name on their lips. But how dare you let a mere man do that? For those of you who call yourself Christians and people who believe in a higher power, you've got to understand that God did not make any place on this beautiful green earth a hood. And we've got to stop calling our neighborhoods that, because that's a mentality. It's the same sun that shines down in the affluent area. It's the same earth that grows fruits and vegetables for us to eat as it does anywhere else. It rains freely. We don't have to pay extra for rain. Rain comes down. So if God treats every part of the earth equally, who the hell came and told us to say that this is a hood? Every time you call your neighborhood a hood, you're playing into what they want for us. Understand that, so stop saying that. We've got to look at ourselves completely different, carry ourselves completely different, and stop believing the propaganda that they put out for us so the world could see us a certain way, so that when we are killed and shot and harassed, nobody notices, nobody cares. Why? Oh, it's just another nigger. And the police are doing their jobs, ridding the world of these nuisances, when in fact they are the invaders coming in. They love the confusion. They keep the confusion going. If they can find so-called bin Laden, if they can look at a coin on the ground from the outer space in a satellite and tell you if it's heads or tails, why can't they tell us who's bringing the drugs into the community? And they'll continue to bust and bust the little dealers who look like you and me. But what about the planes bringing in these drugs and the affluent people who are laundering the drug money before it gets over to us? The 2-bit thug, the 2-bit criminal that they blast on the news. So don't believe all that you see in their technology. It's all manipulation. They make money off of us being incarcerated. Stay away from them. Leave them alone. Leave their system alone. Have your own dream and your own projection. But every time you want to get back at one of these crooked cops, show love to your brother. Every time you want to get back at this system, make friends with someone who used to be a so-called enemy. Balance is what we need. I believe this universe wants balance. And how long can we be shot down? How long can we be talked down to in a condescending manner from a person who can't even control their wife at home, from a person who suffers from depression because they got other issues that the uniform doesn't allow to surface until the time comes? Shame on you for believing in these people. Believe in yourself. Believe in the God-given authority that has been placed on you to run your household in a peaceful way. Stop looking for someone else who does not like you, who doesn't want to see you, and some who hate you to come and handle your affairs. Leave them alone. When they drive through our neighborhoods and they see how good we are living, they don't like it. They don't like to know that you eat good. They don't like to know that you can budget yourself and live good on what you make. They don't like to see your woman, your wife, your mate give you respect and treat you like a king. They don't like that. And when they know that, they despise you. Because what you got when you have balance in your life is something that a badge and a uniform cannot give. As tired and run down as they look, they have no God in them. They have no balance and peace in them. Shine your light bright, handle your affairs, and render them useless. We don't need you. Only when it's a life and death situation. And from what this report gives, a life and death situation usually always happens when they're around. Because they're the masters of escalating a situation into something bad. They're the masters of that. They want that. When it comes time for them to get overtime, they want to escalate a situation to have a nice long report so they can get paid. And your black backside is locked up and put into the system to get the system paid. There are people out here who do not like them because it goes on and on and on and on. And like I said, the universe believes in balance. So how long do you think that you can continue to harass us? And some of us out here may look to accelerate that balance. Brother Cosmo is not here with us right now, but I'm quite sure his name will always resonate in the minds of those who choose to continue to harass us. The universe believes in balance. You can't keep pushing and not expect someone to push back. Again, minimize their presence in your life. Leave them on the corners, standing around. Let them get their pay. We don't see in the Asian community police doing as they do in the black community. We don't see in the Jewish community the police doing as they do in the black community. You've got to think to yourself, what's the difference and why? They're making so much money off of us, and we've been targeted for extinction. And of course, these children in the picture, I haven't seen any black kids there, but it's not about that. It's the treatment that these kids are giving all of us. And yes, it is about that for the part that deals with me. But now, with the new president and the key words that he's used to let law enforcement know basically that you can do whatever you want, and it's okay with me. That's what it comes down to. So now that we know that, don't be afraid of martial law. Put yourself on your own curfew. This is strategic, y'all. Yes, we know we can go anywhere and do anything that we want to do. But put yourself on your own curfew. Leave them empty-handed when they get the order to pull over cars and harass people and ask you what you're doing around in this neighborhood. And that's the neighborhood that you call home, and that's the neighborhood that you've grown up in. I'm sick and tired of it. Leave them alone. Leave them alone.
Make sure to check out the boldest blog at LanceScurv.com and follow Scurv on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube under LanceScurv.